Hi there, my name is C. Marie Williams, and I am going to read something that I wrote about an experience I had as a younger person who realized that sticks and stones do break bones, but words hurt even more. This is on the freedom of speech and the weight and responsibility of blaming, shaming, and inciting political weapons with your words as an adult with a platform. So this is something that I wrote before bed the other day, just thinking about this whole Charlie Kirk situation. I know that he said that Black women don't have brain processing power. Well, I'd like you to process this. I'll never forget living in a new state when Hurricane Katrina happened. I had no idea it was considered the most conservative state in America at the time, but I was about to fuck around and find out. In advanced history classes, my spirit was broken continually, and I fought back tears debating with my peers. They were very adamant that the thousands of Black lives cast across their news screens deserved to die. It didn't matter that this was the most damaging and costly natural disaster to date at the time, or that the levees built by their state failed and were poorly designed. They were unapologetic in their rhetoric, with those crosses dangling upon their neck, as if this hurricane was a baptismal that got rid of all the despicable debris of people they clearly felt were un-American or at least unworthy of life. In a strange twist, no pun intended here, a tornado hit Oklahoma not long after Katrina. It was nowhere near the level of catastrophe of what happened in New Orleans, nowhere. But when I tell you, there were no talking points about how Oklahomans should have been prepared and deserved to die. Oh no, there were candles, Bibles, flags, prayers, funds, FEMA in a heartbeat. And suddenly, a weird expectation for me to fall upon my knees next to my Confederate cell phone covered brethren and decry that these were worthy, valuable lives and people with families, citizens who need all of our support, consideration, care, resources, urgency, and empathy. The country seemed to have no problem giving it immediately so. In the former disaster, they leaned into the wrath of God with their educated synopsis as to why the disaster was deserved. But in the former, grace, mercy, and compassion for a situation no one could help, but that we should all, regardless of race, religion, or creed, join hands on. I personally didn't think biblical explanations needed to enter the classroom so much when simply evaluating government effectiveness and societal portrayals in the media. But here's one that would have been relevant to enter the chat. Life and death lies in the power of the tongue. And while the students did not cause the tornado or the deaths, while they had no true platform and weren't wielding political power, their choices had weight. At the ripe age of 17, I received anonymous verbal harassment for the first time about being an N-word, B-word that should be raped, effed, and should die. We know you wish you were white, they demanded, and also talked about a bunch of sexual things they would do to me, perhaps like the Katrina N-words that deserve to die. Self-care being something I've done since I was a girl, I used to unwind on the Starbucks patio, even at a young age, sip my little latte and read and write. This is where I fell asleep, because I'm a busy mom and also just have life and other things going on, but I will continue to tell this story. While sitting there, a group of teenagers who I don't know, maybe they were the same ones that were anonymously writing me those nasty messages, shouted on the patio while I was sitting there. And I'm going to say the word, nigger, nigger. They shouted it so freaking loud that everybody around me heard it. Adults, people walking their dogs, they turned their head at the ignorance and they kept going. Nice ladies never stopped to come over and say, "Are you okay?" I was a young lady at the time. Nobody apologized to me. No empathy was shown to me. Now here's what I want you to process and ask. After receiving these things, these threats, these disruptions, this trauma imposed upon me, what if I had went out and invoked violence upon one of those people? What if I had did it? It wouldn't have been right. and it wouldn't have evened out what had happened to me. But in some ways, could you all see how perhaps it would be ironic that these people inflicting so much hate and destruction and trauma on somebody else and claiming countless other lives would have something happen to them? And while certainly I'm not implying that if something happened to them that I would celebrate it, I certainly, just because it was a life lost, now pretend that showing up with honorable vigils saying that they were, deserving of all of my love and respect and getting down on one knee with the flag. These were students, though. Can you imagine if someone that was a multi-millionaire with political power and platforms all across this country were saying equally vile things, literally some of the same exact things, and then expect for the rest of the populace to just say, oh, the way that he lived his life, the trauma and the violence that he invoked should be overlooked and doesn't matter? There was a mass shooting that happened on the same day that this man passed that got little to no attention. And by the way, he's made statements about some of those shootings and that, that's just some sort of spoil of living in this society and capitalism, and that we can't change or curb laws to bend to the will of the people and what is greater for us all. I really wanted to speak and finally tell this story because I realized as a young person, not even as an adult with lots of experience, education, and exposure as you all have, that words and rhetoric have weight. We have a responsibility to them. There is a responsibility to what you are saying, what you are implying, especially when you have a platform, especially when you have exposure, especially when you have many minds and souls and many malleable ones, in fact, that will feed into a lot of the theories and the things that you are saying. And so then to now expect that we're supposed to be ignorant and not evaluate the cost of what inciting those very things can result in, that's nonsensical. That should be the un-American part. That should be the part where, we don't want to learn. We don't want to grow. We don't want to see truth. We only want to see one side, and we only want to paint one side as people that are valuable, as people that are deserving of life, as people that deserve grace and mercy and compassion no matter what happened. There has been enough damage in this society that it's time for us to truly take a moment to evaluate what we're teaching our children, the next generation, about responsibility, about empathy. For me to drive past my daughter's daycare, a very diverse institution with a very type of children that this man was saying whose lives and opportunities didn't matter, for them to have a flag, raised in honor. I mean, I can't wrap my mind around it. But this is a story that I wanted to share in light on this, that if a 17-year-old can understand the weight and responsibility of blaming, shaming, and inciting political weapons, if I can process that as a Black woman, even though some people thought that I shouldn't or don't have the capacity to, maybe you can too. Thank you.